everybody, and welcome. I know I wasn't here last week, but I'm here this week. I'm being a bit sporadic, do you know what I mean? I'm rolling with it, I'm vibing. I just had to do a bit of a mum and dad barbecue last week, and I just knew I'd be worse for wear. Because that's the sort of road my dad takes me down, and it involves a lot of whiskey. So, yes, I'm glad I wasn't here last Sunday, but I am glad to be back. Thanks for making the time, and turn that off, Ian. You're already getting on my tits, playing things in the background. Yeah, he has done quite well till about 4 o'clock today. Anyway, we are here with actually something quite exciting that is really formal, written in posh grown-up words. You know, my old sort of CV rollout background. I mean, it's quite a long time ago, but you know, I have trained as an offset inspector in the past. Boo hiss. So I do have a background in some of these sort of very sort of measurable words and things, and we have written for you. Many of you have downloaded it already. That's how sad you are. I'm sad too. We're all sad together, looking after each other, and you've downloaded the Right Stuff implementation plan. Now, just so you know how this is going to roll today, I'm here and I'm going to talk quickly. Ian has given me the international sign of talking slower. It's a bit like that. Oh, calm down. And he's here to guide me in terms of questions, stuff, things like that. Ian, can you introduce yourself now, please? Good boy.
Hi.
Yeah, wow. Slick, dynamic, deep. Right. We are gathered as the ultimate teacher squadders, my lockdown learners, my mind expanders. When I read that hashtag mind expanders, I actually then read it as mind ex pandas. Do you know what I mean? That hasn't got the same ring to it, has it? Mind expanders. Look, we are this gorgeous, growing kind of club of amazeballs people. I think amazeballs about 2 years out of date, but you know, I like to mix it up a bit. We're here, we're giving up our time, our thinking time, to think about teaching. Actually, we're already great. How can we be greater? It's one of them, isn't it? That's what we're here for, to be greater than we're already being, which is pretty damn great, I think. So we are going to talk about, actually, don't really want to bring this in the mix like the small stuff, but all of us here, we are marvellous. Ian's being Hulk, aren't you, mister?
Yes.
And actually, I wanted to be like someone like Wonder Woman, but she's not even Marvel, so I don't even know what the strong, you know, feminist Marvel characters are. But I'm sure you'll tell me on the chat. And please, can I be somebody that I know? Like, I don't seem to know any of the Marvel women ones, but we'll sort it out. So we're here to develop as professionals, and actually, we do have quite a good time. We are allowed to have a little bit of that, but actually we think really hard. So I know some of you make a lot of arrangements to be here. You know what I mean? You like put your kids in chokies and things, or maybe that's your partner. I don't know what you're doing to kind of get this little bit of me time. Some of you are on Parma Violet cider. Yeah, man, that looks good. You know who you are. That's very kind of 80s. You either like Parma Violets or you don't. I'm in the, yeah, love them. That 10p mixer, okay, like you had a strategy, didn't you? You either left the best one till the end. It was never a Mojo, I've got to say. Oh. And it wasn't Parma Violets. You know, I think shrimps are good. There's some rubbish ones out there.
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Is a woman.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be her then.
That's a bit misogynistic.
I'll be Captain Marvel.
What the bloody hell's a woman doing being Captain?
Right.
Captain Marvel.
Stop bloody boy clubbing.
She is the best, the strongest of all the Marvel superheroes.
Yeah, man. Get a picture
the most
up.
Powerful.
Yeah. I want to be her. I'll be Captain Marvel. Great. So you decide what Marvel character you are, and we'll just be like this marvellous sort of squad. I do think we need more we need trainers, we need lycra, we need more aerodynamic clothes for teaching.
As
Like,
Captain Marvel.
oh yeah, that is me. Like, she's got an aura, she's boofing. Oh, I love her. Yes. She looks pretty good. That's me. That is Captain Marvel. Does she have a shield? Do I need a shield? I don't know.
No.
I just need to emanate excitement about, teaching and learning. Let's be marvellous. Let's do it. Yeah. So we're here to take over the world, I think, look after each other, expand our thinking, and I have said this for a lot of time. Oh God, Mr. C. Right, you shouldn't try and get me drunk too soon. That's his problem. He loves Sundays for some reason. Anyway, what was I saying? It was really sober and crystal clear in my own mind. I just couldn't actually articulate it. Okay, right. Get serious, Captain Marvel. Okay, I will. Note to self. We're going to start off with a bit of context about what this evening's about, and it's about we are either a Right Stuff school and we've had lots of staff changes, or we've never done Right Stuff before, or we did it and we were like a dabbler. We dabbled a bit, we did a little bit, we took a bit of it, but actually we might want to go a little bit more wholesale and systematic. So we are going to talk tonight about how to carefully implement the Right Stuff. And even if you are a Right Stuff school, there will be aspects of this where you think, actually, we do 8 of those things really well, but those 4 aspects need polishing up. I'm going to talk tonight about a coherent approach and actually how we can professionally love, absolute heartburst, everybody in our school. And do you know, there can be any Marvel character they want. We just can't have 2 Captain Marvels or 2 Hulks, because no one's going to like it when they get angry together. So we've all got to just play our part in this kind of symbiotic, marvellous moment where we're all on a mission to improve teaching and learning. We're just going to be so great together. So that's lovely. Right, now this action plan, I'm going to talk about it tonight like it's really funky and exciting and woo, with loads of zing and poof. I don't know if poof is a good thing actually, is it, Mr. C? Poof
Can be.
and sparkle and like confetti and zing, but actually it's quite a boring, teachily written action plan. But what I am going to say about it that you need to know, it is highly comprehensive and there are 11 goals. And we've separated off these 11 goals. And what this means is why it's so beautiful for you guys is you can go, actually, we don't need all of this action plan. We want to just focus on these 3 goals because we're already on a journey. We're already, 80% marvellous. So we only need some of these goals. So this is great. You can cut out goals. You can have all the goals. You might think, I don't want any goals. I just like drifting in this sort of lockdown sort of abyss of like tragedy. And I'm not going to think about goals till September the 1st. But whenever you are ready to think about goals, we're there for you. And so I would like download it and put it in a file called I Think I'm Ready. It doesn't have to be tonight, but just that you know it's there. Mr. C,
Yes.
Can you go on camera and tell everybody where they can get the action plan, 11 goal, get it in there, get it on their hard drive, get the hard stuff on their hard drive.
Yes.
Boom.
So we've put it on janeconsidine.com, but there is a link in the description. So after you've clicked like and subscribe and all that business, if you expand your page below, below the
Page.
you've lost my train of thought now.
Is there age?
Yeah, expand your page. Below the video, you'll see there's a link in it somewhere there. You go on, you sign up to the thing, and you get the document. It's a Word. It's in Microsoft Word, so that you can edit it. You know, we were going to do it in PDF, but we thought, well, people might want to change it, so we've done it in Word, Jane. Okay, much to your argument. I'm going to put you back.
Yeah, that actually is a really good point, because it looked really beautiful on PDF, and it also had a really lovely layout, and it was just like, oh, that's like a little PDF sort of neat moment of gorgeousness. But it doesn't matter how beautiful something is. Yes, Hulk.
Yeah, I just need to. I'm having a bit of problem with sound. How is that? Is that better?
My sound.
My sound.
Oh, have you put that white? You always have problems with
I've got my white. Yeah, I know, because I thought I'd leave your microphone open while I'm talking, so that people could hear you. It was an error.
Yeah. Can they hear you? Say that all again.
They can hear me fine.
Can they?
No, that's fine.
We're fine.
It's just that your mic and my mic were on together, so it was echoing. The delay, Jane. It's a delay.
Yeah. Okay. So back in the room, it's on Word. Why? Well, you know why, because you need to edit it. You need to make it your own. You need to tailor it. You need to adapt it. Now, what I am going to do tonight, that is fully comprehensive, written with school improvement language. And, you know, there is aspects of it like costs and monitoring and things like that where you need it in words so you can talk about personnel and timelines and things like that. But what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to zoom into 4 of the areas. I'm not going to explain all of the areas, 4 of the goals, the big goals. And I'm just going to give you an overview of those, because when I'm not going to talk about the whole action plan, I'm going to zoom into 4 areas, and they are number 2, goal 2, where I'm going to talk about baseline and post writing, because there's a few little things I want to say about that. Then I'm going to zoom into lesson structure, and there's going to be nothing new there, but there is something that I want to sharpen up. I'm then going to talk about the interface between teacher and pupil and the initiate phase. And then finally, I want to talk about writing standards. Those are the 4 goals I'm going to talk about tonight. You can interrupt me with questions. You can let me know what Marvel character you are. Okay. Just in relation to that, why it's on Word is, you know, to be the best we can be. CPD and how we move forward with things like action plans all need to be about reflection. You know, if this is kind of a fully comprehensive rollout of this initiative, the right stuff, you genuinely need to reflect about what is relevant, what needs to be slower and deeper, because all the research about effective CPD and effective action plans needs to be us thinking about genuinely where we are as a staff and reflecting around that. So as you look at it, the first thing you'll be doing is saying relevant, not relevant, slightly different for us because we are dovetailing with that or meshing with that and all the rest of it. So that was just a point I wanted to say. Some of you, this is lost on, probably the NQTs, but cost, timescales and monitoring are left blank for you, and that's why it's on Word Q. Is it 80s or 90s Word Up?
Well, that's about 1986, I think.
Can you sing it for me, Mr. C?
No.
No, he said no. No one's going to be singing Word Up, and you either know it or you don't. I actually know it. I know the fashion. I know the whole thing. And if you don't know it because you're young and an NQT and you know you're new to this profession, go and Google Word Up, learn the words, learn the dance, check the fashion. You know, it's an important part of your history as well that you know about some of these songs. Right. Any questions, Mr. C?
None as yet.
Cool.
None as yet. It's
Good.
hang on.
Put your camera on if you've got a question. Good boy.
No questions as yet. I'm not going to bother putting anything.
But what I will say actually is I know that Jane's skipping the training bit. Yeah, I've got my mic on, Jane. She's checking the training bit, but it is. Do spend some time reading it because it's when you get the document, because there's some really good bits on that.
I'm skipping what training bit?
No,
What do you mean?
Straight to point 2, haven't you?
Yeah. I'm going straight to point 2. Right, goal 2. Goal 2 says this. I hope you can see this, and I'm just going to point your eye to it. It says, take a baseline of pupil writing. And this is particularly useful, at the beginning of a term. And it's going to be hard for you guys if you're already in the throes of right stuff, but it's going to be really purposeful if you've not started yet. But equally, I think we should have when you want that really good comparative judgment baseline stuff for a school at the beginning of the year, it's really handy if all years, genuinely all years, do the same bit of writing. Why? Because you can come to get, this is not like because we want to put people under pressure to kind of mark it to government standards or anything like that. It's such a useful early staff meeting where we can go, right, let's lay them all out from crappos, mid-rangers to good ones, and we can have genuine conversations like, wow, Nimrat in year 3's writing is better than some of the children in year 6. That kind of broad view, that litmus judgment of like, where are we at? What are some of the strengths and the weaknesses? I think sometimes we get too locked into like judgment stuff rather than the big patterns that are happening in our school. And one of the things I'd like you genuinely to do, and we've locked it on this action plan, is early on, and I've referenced the film Rooted, and I really am a fan of wordless texts, as in films, because it's a great panacea. A picture says 1,000 words, and it means that children can then import dialogue, can import a narrative, but it means that we instantly have them all on the same page and quite quickly. Something like Rooted lasts for about 4 minutes or so. But what I want you to do is do a write to Rooted for your reception to year 6. We can all watch the film and they can all have a go. But then at the end of term, and this is really important to say this, I want them then to have another go at writing again to Rooted, but I don't want you to teach like a Rooted unit. Does that make sense? Because what you want to see is, obviously, if you did a taught unit to Rooted, that's going to inflate results and almost makes that a bit pointless. But if you just let them have a go again and say, all of the techniques that I've taught you through the writing rainbow, I want you to now apply, and then we can see what they've really connected with and they're able to apply to their own writing. So this is, it's that sort of benchmarking, and then they return to it and we can do that comparison of, actually, has this right stuff approach meant they've got an acquisition of skills and competencies that they can apply into their Rooted work. So, yeah, I just wanted to, and it doesn't obviously have to be Rooted, but it's really handy if it's a wordless short animation film, like Blue Umbrella or Feast or something like that, one with no dialogue. So it's really open to interpretation. And if you're going to use Rooted, I'd actually call the title Two Trees, because that means there's no sort of clever over egging of punning or anything for like our really young kids. It's a film called Two Trees, and they could just have a go at that. Any questions, Mr. C?
Somebody's just said, are they writing a whole story?
Well, you are, Rooted is a whole story, and it's up to you. You either say, right, we'll go we'll just show that moment and they're all just going to write one plot point, or you're going to say, actually, they're going to write a whole story. That's kind of teacherly judgment. Whatever you're going to do, you've got to make it the same.
You could always do it without a film. You could just have a...
Yeah, you could do it doesn't have to be a film.
You could just have a given title.
Yeah, you could say, write about a building that you love and why you love it. I think it just, some of these things, if we're not careful, they're like a bit tragic to write them really hard if they're really little. And I also think context is king. So let's just give them a film, give them a way in. Let's see what they can do, teach them the right stuff and see what they can apply.
There's a few people asking about how do they convince their team about this. But of course, one way to do it is if you're doing it on your own from September.
Use your camera on. Put your
So
camera on.
one way of doing it, if you're sort of like the only person doing it on your own I've got it, Jane. Look,
Don't
it's
have to
just
say
there.
that if I'm going...
So if you've got it on your own, if you're the only person doing it in your school, do the baseline. As soon as they're in, do a little bit of coaching with them, get the term out of the way. By the time the end of the term is coming, you're doing your follow-up assessment, then go to your decision makers and say, look, this is what we've produced in a term. And I know it's going to be quite difficult because you've got 6 months to catch up on, but they will, if you follow this system, they will be, ahead of, if nobody else is doing it in school, you will see big developments in what they're able to do. And using that same text or title or film will give a very clear comparison. And I've been speaking to quite a lot of people about that this week, but that's a really good way of doing it.
Back to you.
Okay. One of the, and I know I've mentioned this before in previous Sunday sessions, and it might have been on the Right Stuff session actually, we've got on our website an exemplar. This has been written as in modelled writing. This is not children's work. An exemplar, key stage 1, end of, like year 2 example of what we'd want children to aspire to, linked to Rooted, and Ian's going to put a link there in the description, and then also a kind of upper key stage 2 demonstration writing linked to Rooted. And it's that sort of benchmarking of us saying, look, if they were taught Write Stuff really well, this is the sort of thing you can expect key stage 1 and key stage 2 to produce. And of course it's adult and would be exceeding expectations, but it gives you this sense of actually these 3 kids are really near. Like you could lay that down and go, right, who's above it, who's below it? That ranking, that's how we've got to think about assessment, comparative judgment, that ranking. So that's handy. That's why I've actually kind of done a shout for Rooted, because that's kind of, look, because I've written those drenched in writing rainbow strategies. You see what I mean? So it's almost like, wow, if everything's going wonderful, if everything's marvellous, if everything's just like marvellous, then this is the sort of level of expectation. And of course, great teachers. I will never forget a head teacher who I knew for a long time. I won't name her name actually, because I haven't asked permission to use this, but I cornered her one day, and she'd taken that school out of a category into outstanding in 9 months. I mean, that journey is like unheard of, and I know it happens, but it's quite rare that to go from there to outstanding. And I said to her, like, what if there was one thing that you'd say sort of got you there? And she, without hesitation, said high expectations. And that's really stuck with me. Whatever we think about the Ofsted process or labels, and none of us are fans of labels, but that just really stuck. And when you look at research, about what makes great teachers, it's high expectations. And when you look at those rooted materials, and you just think, well, actually, that's a model written by an adult. But I am genuinely mind blown when I read work produced by children who have worked in this way. You will be astounded, as am I, by some. We are overloaded here. We don't know where to file it, what to do with it. Like the amount of, take a look at this, take a look at this year 3 writer. I'm even now getting work sent to me from parents who are just like, I can't look at it, all of it. I'm a little bit on the edge, slightly menopausal, but I know I'm not supposed to be really using these sessions as my own sort of counselling. But some of it I just can't take in because it is so mind-blowing, amazing. But hey, thank you, Mr. C. Move on before she embarrasses herself. Right, okay. What I did want to say, one of the lovely things that you'll see if you do use Rooted and you're working with the Writing Rainbow, your Key Stage 2 kids will be able to gather a whole load of associated words to do with trees. Rooted, plump, pulp. Have I spelled that right? Pulp.
Which one? What are you looking at?
Plump. I'll tell you what.
Which way are you talking?
I keep making Freudian slips. It does say pulp. I read it as plump.
Yeah, you poetry.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Tangled, stumped, grove, spruce, twig, foliage. And then all of these tree associations. And then they will be able to do that lovely sort of stretched metaphor, playing with words. Mantree felt stumped, and his mind was all tangled with thoughts of how he could grow closer to Lady Tree. Oh, that's another thing to say. If you do use Rooted, call them Mantree, Lady Tree, or something else. I don't mind. But, it'd be really fabulous, isn't it? If we all call them Mantree and Lady Tree, and then we could really compare them around the country, around the globe. Mr. C.
Yeah, there's a couple of questions that you could
do with clarifying.
Oh, okay.
So
are you on the camera?
I am, yeah. So people are asking, is it the same? Well, it's not text, but using the same film. Yes. Are you teaching it? No. So in actual fact, that sort of mind map is a little bit irrelevant.
No, I know,
but listen, let me finish.
Yeah, it is irrelevant.
But they will understand.
They will understand that from other.
Yeah,
strategies.
but also the other thing is asking when, and I'm saying Christmas. So do it in September, and then do your follow up in Christmas. So you've got direct comparisons. Yes.
Yeah. You don't want it going on a whole year. It's like we'll do this early on, and at the end of term. Do you know? It doesn't really matter in that sense. That you want them to get a nice flavour of story, non-fiction, bit of poetry, and you don't want to be encroaching on the nativity, is what I'd say. You know what I mean? Nobody wants right stuff, hitting on the manger, like, have a bit of a, you know what I mean? And you want to have a nice time at Christmas. So, yeah, time that so it's not too sorting over there. Right, okay, goal 3. I want to zoom into this because this is at the heart of the matter of, for Right Stuff to work, we need to train the kids, basically. You can't expect the magic to happen straight away. And great teaching relies on that training of being able to have slick processes. And what I've done in this plan is that recognition that some of your English lessons that would be Right Stuff lessons, I'm saying train the staff. Train the staff. I don't mean train the staff. I do mean that as well. We've got to train the staff. That's goal 1. But train the pupils, because it is those slicker transitions. It is the process. It's the rules. This also is what makes great teachers and great teaching, and we've got to dedicate some time, and the time that the effort you put in, where it's like, hey, management, don't come and watch me as like this amazing lesson. I just need to train these guys, and the trade-off to train the kids will be really worth it. Those routines, the systems, the slick transitions, we need these in place. Now, from the most recent, and please go and find this if you've not found it, the Great Teaching Toolkit, Evidence Review, June 2020. Go and download it and make it your Bible, please. It says this: managing time and resources efficiently in the classroom to maximise productivity and minimise wasted time, e.g. starts, transitions, giving clear instructions so students understand what they should be doing, using and explicitly teaching routines to make transitions smooth. Right stuff isn't going to magically just happen. Children need to be trained, transitions need to be smooth, instructions need to be certain, small stepped, and that system of right stuff needs to be in place. And we need to do that early on in the year so that there's no wasted time. And that is important. And that is high in the maximising opportunity to learn. You know, that's what makes us marvellous, them marvellous, that symbiotic marvel of marvellousness happen. Mr. C.
So Candice Batik is saying, how would you go about training the children?
Okay, so I can't really be bothered. That sounds awful, doesn't it? Because I'm not going to patronise you and read this to you. But when it says here, look, goal 3, training the pupils with the new components that will feature in the lesson structure. I've just said I'm not going to read it to you. And now I am going to read it to you. What you're doing. But what I'm trying to say is this goes into really small steps. Pupils have the 3. You know, this isn't like, wow, look at me being a dynamic teaching of our new learning. This is routine systems. There is a component part of teaching that needs to be that. So it's basically the small stuff, telling kids, you know, there's chunks of learning. We're not teaching in 2 halves, my half, your half, put a plenary at the end. We're not doing that anymore. We're thinking about learning chunks. We tell the kids they last for about 20 minutes. We're going to try and do 3 every day. We're going to have initiate, we're going to have model, we're going to have enable. This is like, it's genuinely, I need to explain this to you and train you on it. And this plan goes through that in detail. So the 3 chunked approach is well established from year 1 upwards. This is going to be one of the success criteria. Book looks will be able to see that we're working in those 3 chunks. You know, it is your old school, traditional, explain, train, routine system. Like, it's almost like what is not said. I think, who are the great teachers? Those great teachers who put the effort into putting systems, slick routines in place. Is that fair enough, Mr. C, without reading it? Because I don't think I should use this time to read it.
I think that one of the things to consider, though, is the fact that, you know, a lot of the children have not been in school for 6 months come September. So there's a hell of a lot of sort of reintroducing sort of old concepts to them.
Are you being really serious?
No, but I think that one of the things and I've spoke to a few people about this week and sort of bashing some ideas around. You know, most people are back in on a, you know, Wednesday or Thursday. I'd use those 2 or 3 days going through, like, okay, this is how our English lessons are going to look slightly different. So we're going to, you know, instead of doing, you know, you and me, we're going to break it up into 3 little chunks. We're going to, and that would be a whole lesson on its own, not actually doing any of the work, just talking about the structure and then talking to them about what the, you know, particularly that initiate phase, you know, what is kind calling out, practicing it and saying, oh, that's a bit too much. Oh, you can speak so much. Teaching them they're not putting their hands up anymore. These sort of things where you know, they're having to learn a lot over that first few days. But I think that once you can get a bit of foundation work on that, once you start doing the units, they're still learning, but they will get used to it. And what we've found, because you've got to remember, this isn't about sort of like 10,000 schools, this system. So what we've found is, by the end of the first unit, the children are really running with it. The adults, not so. So it takes us a bit longer to get used to it, but it's a lot of drama, as in you being dramatic. It's about that modelling phase, and it's just them getting used to something new. But on top of having to deal with getting back in for 6 months, which it is all quite carefully explained in the action plan, and that is adaptable to fit to you as well.
Can I just say something, Miss?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. One of the things that does loop back and answer your question that I think really needs sorting out, and I've said it before, but hey, we're all learning as well. We are mind expanders. We're here to push our thinking forward. When we talk about a learning chunk has this initiate, model, enable phase, and you've heard me say this before, teacher doing something funky. How funky do you want to get? Quite funky. Thanks for funking asking. Model, and then enable is, it basically goes teacher, model, pupil. I never ask you to write unless I've modelled it for you. That is the bridge between teacher handing it over under the wing of big modelling, not closed procedure. Okay, I just want to talk through the bit for me in, I suppose, years of working with school and doing that kind of post initiative consultancy and watching and saying we're nearly great, but we can be like better. What's going wrong? Where can we sharpen? It's here. You've got to understand initiate as a 5-point process, a very sequenced system of certain prerequisites that need to be in place. And I suppose what I've done recently is reflect more and more and more as Ian goes to me, don't you, Hulk? He goes, right, you've got to explain that better. And I'm like, no, I don't, I get it. And he's like, you've got to explain that better. And he's right. Initiate is a 5-point sequence. And I'm going to explain what that 5 points. So it's really misleading. It almost looks like that box is even, that box is even, that box is even. This is the hardest box, this initiate box, because even though it's one box, as a teacher, it's actually got 5 component parts that need to run sequentially. And are some of those things really small? Yes, but what are they? You know, this is years of experience of me really caring about the teaching of writing and being one of the few consultants who still teach kids, and I want schools to be bloody marvellous. Do you know what I mean? And you know, many of you who are here now watching me from afar through this lens know that about me, that actually I am about teaching and learning, and I really do. It's the devil's in the detail. It's the ant. It's the small, isn't it? It's the ant thinking. No, Mr. C. No questions.
I've got a question.
No.
I'm saying I've got the initiate video if you want me to show it at any point.
Yeah, you can, but not today. Like, calm down. Okay. So, structure. This 5-point. So it's one box, but it isn't really one box. First up, we are going to do something funky. That's a stimulus. It can't go on for too long. We've got to do something funky. What is that funky thing? Don't really matter. But the purpose of it is to have some context, some shared experience. It's got to be quite small, meaningful, and from it we've got to rinse out language. And what could that stimulus be? It could be a bit of drama, a bit of storytell, you as a teacher. It can be a soundscape, it can be a photograph, it can be a picture. It doesn't really matter, but it's that shared moment. It might only last, a bit of a photograph, and I'm going to take them into a cave. And so they decided to walk into the dark, spider-drenched cave. And in there, well, they couldn't see. It was gloomy. It was spooky. Do you know what I mean? Like that kind of atmosphere. We're going to get them excited. Got to do that stimulus. Then, from that stimulus, you, adult, number 2, you're going to show them 1 or 2 rinsed, squeezed out. When I say rinsed from that experience, the sort of language that you want. There is nothing more important than words. Words is what we're working with. Words is our powerhouse. And we are going to put that right at the heart of our teaching. So that stimulus is like, whoa, rinse. This is, what do we want to get from it? We want to get spooky. Wow. We want to get gloomy. Yes. We want to get dark, dingy. Like we're getting really excited about rinsing words post-stimulus. Yeah? I'm going to give a couple of examples. Then I send them off to the most productive way to talk, paired talk. But you know what I like to do. I want pens up, pencils up, paired talk and writes. They're going to chat and jot. And they are going to jot on their thinking side. Yeah, and whether that thinking side is on a sticky bit of paper, a sticker, a flap, a book, a clipboard, a here, a there, I don't mind, but they are going to word collect, phrase collect, clause collect, the stuff they need, the language they need. Words are power there, yeah? Then I'm going to move number 4 into kind calling out. I don't want hands up. I don't give a stuff about it. It's going to crunk it up. It's going to turn it into mud. Shout your words out. Don't get too shouty. I'll kill you. I'm writing them down. When we are doing kind calling out, what are they doing? They are doing an audit of their list. As they hear over their head, as they hear Nimrat shout gloomy, they're like, boom. They can almost bingo their thinking side. I got gloomy. Boom. They hear dark. Boom. I got dark. Then they hear, petrifying. Oh, I ain't got that. Oh. But I'm writing petrifying now. They can nick it. Kind calling it out is their chance to audit and add to their list. And what am I doing as a teacher? I'm collecting all their words, and when a kid says, miss, like really, really scary, I'm going to go, oh, I'm going to take scary. I'm not going to take really light scary. So I'm going to reject stuff. I'm going to keep stuff. When they say dilapidated, I'm going to go, you don't really say a cave is dilapidated, reject. I'm going to reject that word. It's not quite appropriate. You apply that to like a house that is run down. It's not really quite right for a cave. I'm going to reject it. I'm going to teach it more like maths. Over. That system of initiate is really important. Funky thing. A worked example. Go and chot. Kind calling out. Audit your list and add to it. And, hold on a minute, dilapidated, do one. That is what that 5, it looks like one, oh man, that box, it's just like initiate. Yeah, man, funky funk. It's more than a funky funk. It's a 5-step system. Yes, Mr. C.
It has to be fast-paced, has to be quick collecting. You have to start behaving more like reception teachers, over dramatic, be a bit of a twat. I did it for years in year 6, and you know, it didn't do me any harm. They love it.
You're not allowed
So-
to say twat.
Can't say twat. What can I say?
Don't know, just say
Twit.
twit.
Knob. Can I say knob? Well, I'm going back to
You can't say knob and you can't say twat. Anyway, this is what happens to Mr. C. He gets his Hulk on. He just gets overexcited. Calm down. Right.
What sort of time would that whole section that you've just spoken about last? So you've spoken about it for 15 minutes. How live in the moment? What sort of time would you spend on initiate?
Right.
Because it's
So,
about pace, isn't it?
Let's
Pace,
do
pace,
maths. Right. Do I want to be it's got a lot? No, I don't want to be like timey. I don't want to be too. It's about flow. It's about sequence. I don't want to be too timey, schmimey about it. But now you've asked me, I don't know. But working it back, it's like I'm doing something funky for about 5 minutes. Give me loads of words and audit your list. 6 minutes, 11 minutes. I love doing odd numbers. Doing this for about 4 minutes. What's that took me to?
15.
Wicked. Go and have a go. 5 minutes. There you go. Is that all right? Don't know. It's pacey. It's fast paced. So your funky thing, you've got to think about that. It can't go on too long. Are you flirting in that group, Mr. C?
No.
Best not be. Right. This is a bit left field, so kind of step over with me a little bit. Are there any questions? No.
No.
Good. Right.
No.
That's it. That's your chance. This is like an advert break, I think, which is don't feel obliged that you have to go and spend your money. But I am going to say this. There is nothing, the longer I am in this business of shaping up great teachers of writing, the more and more and more certain I am it's about words. Language, words. Don't get too far away from words and how they mobilise into sentences. And so, this book, hot off the press, literally is gorgeous for Key Stage 1. And there's not a lot in it, actually, so don't think you're going to have, an extensive explanation of tons of words. It's small, it's beautiful. But I just think it's such a good model because it takes us on an expedition around the world, dives into history and tells us about word origins. But why I love it so much in Key Stage 1 is I think it'd be a damn good model for us to go and find out about pyjamas. Where does pyjamas come from? We could go and find out the origins of certain words. And I think kids, and what's lovely about it is there's not a lot of text. It'd be a great art interface non-fiction project. Let's get excited about where our words come from. And for me, which is really interesting in this book, it's the word companion. And where does companion come from? And it is a Latin word. And it actually means with bread, and it made me think really, like your friends are lethal, aren't they? They are the ones who make you eat carbs and shit because they just want you to look worse than them, and they get you really pissed. So that sort of makes sense to me. They're a companion, but they're on a mission to fuck you up with bread. What? We're adults, aren't we? You've said twat. Anyway, moving on from baguettes, this book, Alpha Maniacs. I love this book. Actually, this book has made my heart zing. It's for the Imaginers. the tinkerers, the collectors, the dissectors. It is 26. It's actually a biography. It's a collection of biographies of 26 people who have dedicated their life to words. Step right up, turn the page, and gawk at the gathering of word obsessives. They are like, I think, the sort of thing, like in the future, we'll put, what's his name on, celebrity Gogglebox, Brandreth.
Charles Brandreth.
Is his Charles?
Giles.
I was gonna. I thought it was Giles, and then I said Charles. Yeah, Giles Brandreth. You know, like the people who've been on Countdown, and it's like and Susie Dent. That's the name. And Richard likes to do that, doesn't he? On that other quiz show. What's his name?
Which Richard?
The one who sits down. You know, the one who
I don't know his name. The tall one.
The tall one. You know what I mean?
Pointless.
Pointless. Oh, hit that guy. Love that guy. Love all these guys. And Susie. You know, they've given their life to words and what they mean. And they're memorised by them. Mesmerised even. Are you all right? Richard Osman, and spellbound by words. And both of these books, I mean, this, I can't show this, or is it all going to go weird?
Yeah, we'll go for it. No, it's a bit weird.
Alpha Maniacs love it. It's one of them. It's one of them. And I found this by accident, which is serendipity, of course. Finding something wonderful by accident. And that's how I found Ian, by accident. Was it wonderful? Partly. It was a wonderful sort of Hulk-like accident. Mr. C, please answer a question or something for me for a moment. Good boy.
There isn't any...
Are people just like having a laugh?
Yeah,
I'm not doing this anymore.
I think you're distracted.
I'm trying to be serious every day.
No, I think we can move on. I think you're being very clear. Stop drinking that wine.
How dare you? I am Captain Marvel, making everyone just like marvellous and amazing. Right, hashtag trainers for teachers, hashtag lycra for teachers, hashtag make us marvellous. Right, do you know, this is a bit of a sideline. Oh, I didn't know about this. Robert Southey wrote a poem about a waterfall. It is ridiculously long, but you know, we said we're going to do more poetry. This poem, you know, you're going to go, right, Monday, like, get inebriated, don't worry about it, get the kids to learn this poem. It'll take them 2 weeks, that'll shut them up, and then we're on holidays. Brilliant. How long we got left? It is amazing. The rhythm, the movement, you know. So what do we get in this poem? We get rhyme, we get all of these verbs, it's live. And look at this. I just think it's one of those poems where you don't need all of it. You could take this moment, we could make a really like, oh, look, it's doing this. It's doing, you know, 4 words that end in ing. Look, it's doing this. It's been so easy to pull out a shape from it. The Cataract of Lodore. It's about a waterfall. This is only 3 lines from it, but it's just the rhythm, the rhyme, the movement. It is a read aloud. If any of your kids learn this before the summer holidays in your little bubble, toil and trouble, record it and send it to me, because I just think this, it doesn't have to be all of it. It is just amazing. Advancing and prancing and glancing and dancing, recoiling, turmoiling and toiling and boiling and gleaming and streaming and beaming. Just look that poem up. You won't be able to resist it. It's got high stickability and lovability. You've got to get in on that. It does take your breath away. Okay, goal 5. Back to the plan. It's detailed, and I'm just going to talk about training the pupils on the initiate phase and the layout of their books. Okay, layout of their books. Now, I'm just going to talk about this plot point here from Last Stop on Market Street. You know, Gran and CJ's really jealous because he's not in a car and his friends have got more than he does. And, you know, and they're going off now to volunteer at the soup kitchen to support the homeless in the community. I love this book. I mean, it's won so many awards. You know I love this book. I think I've mentioned it before. And it's written as a unit on the unit plan website, www.janeconsidine.com. So go and look it up. But it's this thing, I'm going to say it again, but it's, for me, please, can you see this on my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is me showing you, can you see this is planning? This is me saying plan how you want your kids' books to be produced. So this is me planning to that plot point here. And it's me saying, right, I have, on an adult level, thought through in the vocabulary vault, banks of words, banks of dialogue, negative words for the shops and the bins and the people. And I've gathered adverbial, prepositional phrase words and verbs. And we've worked hard there. We've gone stimulus, which might be a bit of storytelling, the pictures. Then I've given some examples. Then I've asked them to chart. Then we do kind calling out. They audit their list, they add to it. Then I model here. CJ and his grandma were partners. Their held hands meant fondness. Walking through their community, they noticed empty shops, rancid bins and lonely people. After they helped at the soup kitchen, it was easier to see good in their world. Outside, she now saw beautiful birds hovering in the sapphire sky. CJ noticed a bright rainbow arcing over the two of them. But this doesn't happen by chance. This is because we put the hard work in here. Now, this symbiosis between how we plan it, but this is also what we want their books to look like. Now, Mr. C,
Yeah.
are you ready to go on camera
Yes.
with a kid's book? And actually, the mini writing rainbow, what I want it to look like, and it's it's kids having it near them and being able to lean on it. Right.
So,
Miss C, this is your moment.
This is the fab new mini writing rainbow. So basically,
Kids' book.
Yeah, it's a child's book. So what we've done is, as an idea, is using this. Let me just see if it's flippy flappy in there. So that in the front cover. The reason that it's there in the front cover, flipped over, is so that no matter what page they are working on, they have got it as a constant reference that
Take
they.
that worksheet out. It's going to fall on your shoulder.
Okay.
Chuck it. Yeah.
Constant reference that's there. So stick it to the front. They have it there. So these are quite hard wearing card, and then they're at whatever page they're on, it's just there. They flip it and flap it, so it works well. And it is obviously as a constant mnemonic there for them to work from and start, utilising it like that. Is that what you wanted me to say, Jane?
Yeah.
So is that
because
okay?
I couldn't cope with trying to show that.
But
and
these,
like that.
whilst I'm on the subject, so these come as a pack, and there's 36 in a pack for, how much are they? $7.49. So $7.49 for a pack of 36. So each child gets one. Like I said, they're pretty hard wearing. They've just gone on the website yesterday or today, and they're laminated. So they should get a year out of them at least. So $7.50 will do your whole class for a year. Jane, back to you.
Yeah, I didn't really want you to go back to me just yet. Can you just
So
talk
yes.
for 2 more minutes?
Yeah,
just
of course I will.
Because I've had a bit of a nightmare.
So she's working on the hoof now.
No, it's not that. I've just had a bit of a... Right.
Okay.
We'll go back to me. Right. Goal 11. Goal 11. So this is about the payback, the writing standards. If we follow the fully comprehensive, small step, for right stuff to work, you need to train your teachers, you need to love them, you need to nurture them, we need to be like how can we get the most marvellous out of all of us, and then we need to train the kids. And it's not going to come quickly and easily, and we've got to see it as, let's not assume anything, small bite-sized chunks, but ultimately we're going to get the payback in pupil attainment. And the cost, timescales and monitoring, you can put your judgments in there where you can quantify outcomes. But what I will say loud and clear is, if you are going to hold people back for a staff meeting, it's got to be worth it. It can't be a mushy debate club. Everything has got to be about, this is teaching and learning driven to make us great teachers, you know, and you're better off having less on a staff meeting agenda, and let's just sort it out so it's slick, rather than trying to do something really enormous or too big or too onerous. So small bite-sized chunks. I also think a really good rule of thumb for a staff meeting is like, let's get the key vision visually on one sheet of A4, because if it goes longer than a sheet of A4, everyone's hungry, and everyone can't take it on any more than, you're better off, you know, small bite size. I don't know why I've got a bit of scramblation here on here, but we're just going to roll with it. We need, at that kind of final part, that goal 11, that all of the scrutiny, all of our discussion is not an assumption that it's perfect, that we are going to be in the law. Well, what has gone well? What isn't going well? And this is when we're into the sort of ant situation where we're really now, we've got to get to a point with teaching and learning where it moves from global to, this needs to be improved in our school, this needs to be better, this needs to be sorted. So this is my final point. And this is sort of a summary in the Great Teaching Toolkit that references Erickson. We know something about the steps that lead to expertise, and this usually means breaking the complex activity down into components and exercises, clarifying, then practicing them with appropriate guidance until they are fluent and proficient, and integrating these isolated techniques back into the complex and mysterious whole. What does this mean for writing? What this means is, writing is, we know it's about juggling, orchestrating all the skills all at once. It is nuanced, it's complex, it is mysterious, it is beautiful. I am not saying that atomizing all the component parts of writing is where it needs to end, but if you want to be a surgeon, you need to know how to do lots of little sub competencies to be good at being a brain surgeon. And so if you want to ride a bike, you've got to learn lots of sub competencies, you know, before it can all be orchestrated together. So we need to understand for yourselves, what is a good year 2 writer? Beyond the government, what is a good year 3 writer, year 4 writer? And how can we juggle them? So this is not, I want writing to be viewed as a whole piece, and with the purpose and intent of it being where our main judgment happens. But for us as teachers on a daily basis, we need that view of, well, what makes a good year 4 writer? How can I help my year 4 kids? And we've got a resource that's locked in the back of Write Stuff, but you also can get it downloadable for a £5. For a £5. How much did this cost? £8.99. So like for half a bottle of Prosecco, you can get as half cut as me and be marvellous. This performance of writing downloadable is it covers the national curriculum and beyond the national curriculum, all the little things. So for year 4, for example, it's saying, right, our year 4 kids need to be able to signal in a narrative that is dramatic, link back to the beginning, and in non-fiction, make a strong conclusion. Right, I can teach my year fours to do that. Is it in the national curriculum? No, but I need my year fours to have really strong dramatic endings on stories and really strong conclusions in non-fiction. I'll do that. I'm in year four. I don't mind doing that. I'm pretty damn marvellous. I'm Captain Marvellous. So also here, rhetorical questions. Right, I know many of us might be sorting out rhetorical questions, but I'm going to make sure my year fours know what our rhetorical question is, and I'm going to teach them it. Boom. I'll do that, don't worry. So we all play our part, and yeah, year two might say, oh, can your year twos use when, if, that, and because? Yeah, because it's listed in the national curriculum. But actually, what are year four going to do? Well, I'll do while, so, although, because it doesn't say anywhere. So I'll do that, thanks. So this is a very comprehensive end of year view of atomised techniques that we do have to teach kids to do, so we can then go have a look at this nuanced, beautiful whole. That's a fiver, and I don't care who you are. It's like, thank God, give me that, because I can start now sharpening the modelling that I'm doing. And then in relation to that, for a tenner, you get one for each of the kids. This is the year, this is the same language, it's not different language, but this is like the year. This is the year four example of, right, kids, this is everything you have to do to be good in year four. And I'm going to say, look, can you start with fronted adverbials that when and where? Yeah, can you do that? Yeah, do that. Oh, look, you're not very good at that. You're not very good at doing a complex sentence that starts with while, although. Nimrat, sort it. Please, babe, sort that, and you'll be an even better year four writer. Because if we've got a view of the atomised bits, then we can start teaching kids about orchestrating all together. So I'm going to say this to you.
It's important you say that's a physical product, though.
That is a physical product. That, all right, let's say that. That's a downloadable for a fiver. It's in your box. In your box, don't say twat. And then that is a... Ian, do you want to just flick-flack that around like you're doing?
So yeah,
me,
we got some here.
Flicky-flack.
So these are physical. Right. So the children have them. You got loads of ambitious vocabulary as well on the back. Yeah. But this is a tick through. The children can tick through them. They go home, and you're able to tick as they go along. It's a good form of assessment.
Do you put it on the flat? You
can put it in the flat. Keep it in the book. Keep it in the tray. Whatever. It's a good way of, if you get an opportunity to sit with them, if you're flicking and ticking and walking around, you can actually say,
Quote of the evening, put it back on.
Okay.
If you are flicking and ticking and walking around, I don't know how marvellous you are, but if you are modelling and sharpening and putting stuff in their vocabulary vault and collecting it post-jotting and not putting their hands up and can't calling out, then you're pretty damn marvellous. So think about if you want to be Hulk or if you want to be Captain Marvellous. The choice is yours. Vote now and download the Right Stuff implementation. The Right Stuff, Sober as a Judge, implementation action plan, which is highly serious. I wrote it when I was sober, like super serious, measurable, doable, 11 goals. Get that in a file for when you can face it. I'm going to call it a night. Mr. C, have you got anything to say? Yes. Probably should have been on Palmer Violet cider.
Yes. We're not going to be back on until the week beginning the 27th, when Jane will be doing her early years training. So that's, if you've got any colleagues in nursery, year one, foundation, that's Monday the 27th. Or anybody's welcome to come along and have a nose.
English subject leaders.
All English subject leaders obviously should be in attendance, obviously. So this is basically going to be helpful for people who have either been through the Right Stuff sessions that Jane has done, or you know, on YouTube, or the stuff that she's done on her own website. But it's a bolt on to that. So it's not going to be, oh, this is how to be an EYFS teacher. These sessions are going to be about how to introduce the right stuff into the early years. So it's not telling you to do anything that you already, change anything that you're already doing. It's about how the right stuff will wrap into that. And that goes from anybody who is in charge of English, or if you just want to come along and be part of the crew, which would be quite good because, you know, who knows, you might be in year 6 this year, next year you might be in reception. So that's not next year, you know, the year after. So I'm going to put it back to you now, Jane, to say good night and thank you.
I'm going to say good night. Sorry it was a long one. Hey, I might even do early years sober. It might be more effective. Thank you to me for being marvellous. Thank you to put my notability on, Mr. C. Thank you to the Hulk. Oh, nice. And I will see you early years day. What date is that? Monday.
Monday the 27th of July.
Monday the 27th of July.
7:30 p.m. British summer time.
Thank you. Where we do an early years 5-day boom training. Thank you, everybody. Good night.